Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Joe Michaels, the baking author. Am I trying to bake or am I baking? I don't know. Today we're making Cranberry Cashew Biscotti. I love this biscotti. It is absolutely the best. You will lose your mind. So the ingredients that you need 3 large eggs, a cup of white granulated sugar, some craisins, dried cranberries, some unsalted cashews, a little almond extract because yum, some baking powder, a tablespoon, half a cup of vegetable oil, and 3 1/4 cups of flour. We're going to do this a little bit different today. We're going to mix the dry and then the wet and then mix it all together. So to bake it, you're going to need a pan layered with something like a silicone baking mat or parchment paper. And then you're going to need a very large cutting board or your counter once you're done for the first bake to cut the biscotti apart, and then for the second bake you're going to put them back on that basic tray. So we should be okay. A wire rack to cool them whenever they come out, and a knife to cut up your raisins and cashews. So let's get going. Into here we're going to put our wet ingredients. So that means our half cup of oil and our 3 eggs. I hope this is at least a half a cup left in this bottle. And would you look at that? Liquid measure, please. And break my eggs into here, praying I don't get any eggshell. And these are just large eggs, large grade A eggs. So got those. And then we're going to mix this together. I didn't get a fork, but I need to go get a fork. So let me go do that. I'll be right back. Got my fork. Okay. Now we're just going to poke the yolks and kind of mix these eggs in with the oil. You can use vanilla extract too if you prefer. I just really like the almond extract. I think it adds a little extra oomph, but you can't add too much. So just a sprinky dink of almond extract. You don't need a lot. It's very strong. I'm going to dissolve my sugar into here. And since this is kind of a small mouthed container, I'm going to use my 1/4 cup measuring cup. Okay, that's 4 1/4 cups, or 1 cup of sugar. Ooh, my fork! I almost lost my fork down in the bowl. Clamp that back closed, and just mix my sugar in with my oil and my eggs. This will give the sugar a chance to kind of dissolve a little bit, so we won't have as grainy sugar in here. Now you can also use cane sugar. Yum. It's going to give it that beautiful, deep, rich, earthy flavor if you use cane sugar or brown sugar. Brown sugar has that molassesy flavor, so yum. Okay. I don't think I need this fork anymore. So I'm just going to knock the stuff off of it and pop it over there. And switch to my spatula and move my eggs, which are all over my counter, as well as in my bowl, to the side. Now, I have my flour. This is my all-purpose flour container. If you've been with me a while, you know that I use these containers for all-purpose flour and bread flour. So I want 3 1/4. Power it up. Scrape it off. Cups of flour. My oven is preheating at 375 degrees. And we're going to use a lot of that time. So your oven's going to be on a lot today. If you got to turn the air in your house down some, make it so. So I need a tablespoon of baking powder. These don't really rise a lot, but they do rise a little bit. So 1 tablespoon. Good thing I have another can of that, huh? Just throw that away. Done with the tablespoon. And now, using my spoon, I'm just going to kind of mix that together a little bit. Then I'm going to set it aside while I chop my cranberries and my cashews. Now, as far as the cranberries and cashews go, I don't really measure them. You can measure them if you want to. It's per taste. So if you want more, add more. If you want less, add less. Take our cutting board. That's maybe a cup of unsalted cashews. I'm just going to use what's left in the container. When you're cutting nuts, be gentle. They do have a tendency to fly everywhere. So if you can cover the top of your knife with your hand, it may prevent some of that, and it's just a rocking motion. Across your cutting board. Now, if you have a slap chop or something similar, one of those things that you can put down over this and just hammer it with your hand and make it small, you can use that. You're gonna get smaller pieces of cashew in your biscotti, but it's totally doable. There are alternatives to this recipe. You can put pretty much in these whatever you want. I have done chocolate almond biscotti with unsalted roasted almonds. It was so good, but you really have to be careful when you're watching the bake because you can't tell when they're done and then when they're almost done again. You'll understand by the time we get to the end of this video. I'm putting kind of a medium fine chop on these. I'll let you see when I'm done. I do love me some biscotti. We're also going to glaze these when they're done. We're just going to put a little drizzle over top. Now if you're making chocolate biscotti, what you do is you 86 that 1/4 cup of flour and you replace it with a 1/4 cup of chocolate, powdered chocolate. You can use regular chocolate or dark chocolate. It's really quite good. Okay, I'm just going to scoop these up and toss them in with the eggs. We don't add them with the flour because once we add the flour, we're not really going to mix that much. I don't really want the powder. And I want them well distributed through the biscotti. Toss this in the trash and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now I'm just going to grab my raisins. I love these things. I could eat them right out of the package. They're tart and wonderful, and when you put them in this biscotti, they get chewy when they're done baking. It's so lovely, especially whenever you bite into one, you get that tartness against the sweetness of the biscotti. Dip it all in your coffee. Ooh. So my chocolate almond biscotti, actually I dipped in chocolate as well, so they were super good. Made for a fantastic cup of coffee. And if any of you have been here for a while, you know I have 4 coffee pots, well 3 coffee pots in the corner and 1 under the counter. I do love my coffee, so me and biscotti are very good friends. I'm just putting a kind of a rough chop on these. I will show you the cashews now. They're just kind of floating in there. It's just kind of a rough chop. Now I'm going to add my cranberries. I know they're going all over my kitchen, and I really should use my counter scraper for this, but you know how you get in the habit of using something and it is what it is. So, I'm just going to mix that so it's well distributed. And you kind of want it to look like gelatinous ooze with lumps in it. Now I'm going to throw in my flour. I know this seems like it's very hard to work, but there's a reason for that. You're going to draw these out completely. So the oil in the egg is just enough to moisten this flour. It's going to take you a minute to get it all moistened, but hang with me. So here we go. You can just go crazy with your spatula. Nobody is going to judge you. Try not to throw your flour all over your kitchen though. I do have a really bad habit of doing that. My husband is always like, why is there flour all over the kitchen? Well, because I was baking today. And he is not a fan of biscotti, but my stepson loves it, so he's always taking it home. Oh, I send it with him in my bread bags. I'm like, take as many as you want. He takes 2 or 3. Comes back next time, takes 2 or 3. It's pretty funny. So, whoa, man, this is hard to mix. All right, this is starting to get nice and thick. All that liquid's being absorbed into that flour, and it's getting kind of cakey. So this is what your biscotti dough should kind of look like. It's very sticky. Let's get my pan. We're going to put it right out on the pan. Ugh. Come on, you. I need my bowl scraper, but it's way over there, so whatever. Ugh. Now we're going to divide this lump of dough in half. And kind of smash it around, you'll see. I'm just trying to get it all out of the bowl here. Okay. This is a very wet biscotti. I know it seems crazy, but just use your fingers. It's rather a lot like cookie dough in that you can kind of separate it and smoosh it around. So separate into 2 lumps, like so. And then you're going to kind of form it into a long log. And yes, it should go all the way from one end of your tray to the other, if you have a tray about this long. I'm definitely going to need something other than my fingers. Let me go get my bowl scraper. It is perfect for making these. I'll be right back. Okay, bowl scraper. I'm actually just going to flour the edge of it so it doesn't stick to anything. And as you can see, we're doing much better now. So your biscotti, you're kind of going to want to shape and keep those edges nice and squared as you work with it here. This does take some time, but it is worth every freaking minute. Because you kind of got to try to get them even as you can. And you can kind of round the top off a little bit. And mine usually run the whole length of my pan. And I think my problem is I have both of these on here at once. Don't worry if they're not perfect. They don't have to be. not looking for perfection, but they need to be about an inch thick. That's about an inch. If you never knew that, the tip of your pinky, about an inch. Did I say it was exactly an inch? No, I did not. But we're going with approximate. Because again, baking is supposed to be fun. It should not stress you out. So, okay, this is kind of not as sticky. My flour has obviously absorbed a lot of that oil now. But man, you can see the pieces of that cranberry in there. All right, log 1 is formed. Should look something like that. Now I'm going to attack log 2. If you need to go back into your flour, go back into your flour. It's better than having crap stick to you everywhere. All right, kind of square your ends off, because when you start cutting them, you'll thank me. Trying to make this one about as thick as the other one and about as wide, so we get some pretty even biscotti here. If you don't have one of these, any kind of a bench scraper will work. But I am going to link to this in the comments so you can go grab one if you want. They're not expensive. I think I got a pack of 2. It came with this one and this itty bitty one. And it was like $10 on Amazon. So, it's not quite the same length, but it's going to have to work. This makes a crap ton of biscotti. Just FYI. Just use your hands and just kind of flatten it so it's rounded, but the edges are still squared up. Like, you don't want any hard corners. When you go to cut these, you'll see what I mean. Now you're going to have to cut them while they're hot, so, well, while they're warm. So be prepared for that. That's why we have a very large cutting board and a very big knife. Don't try to use tongs. It will just mess you up. All right, nice square ends. Your biscotti should now look like this. See, they're not super thick. They're about the same height, about the same length. Now we're gonna pop them into the oven. Okay, sorry, I said 1 inch thickness. Should have been about ½ an inch, so about half of your pinky finger. Whatever. Either way, they're still gonna bake, okay? So 25 to 30 minutes in a 375-degree oven, and then we will get to the cutting and the drying of the rest of the biscotti. I will see you guys then. Clean up my mess. Hey you guys, I'm back. Check it out. They are a beautiful golden honey brown color. Now, you can only let these cool for a few minutes. Then you're going to have to take them out of the pan while they're hot. Don't break them and cut them into pieces. Now, usually you cut them into ½ inch pieces, but I like mine just a little bit thicker, so I go with about 1 inch. No, I do not measure anything. I just kind of eyeball it. They don't have to be perfect as long as they're cut, okay? So it doesn't take them long to cool off to the cuttable consistency. You have to cut them while they're still warm, not cold, or they will crumble and break apart. And you cannot cut them while they're super hot, or they will actually break into pieces, and then you have to kind of finagle those back together however you can. So we're going to let these cool about 5 minutes, and I will be right back. Okay, my sheet pan has cooled, so I'm not going to burn myself on the metal. This is a stupid sharp knife, okay? You need a stupid sharp knife. Take your cutting board and put it next to your pan. Very gently pick your biscotti up and move it over. It's hot, so be careful. Leave your pan on there, and I hope I remembered to tell you earlier not to turn off your oven, but in case I didn't, don't turn off your oven. That's actually stupid important. We're going to bake these again, a second time. So, this is hot. Be careful. Very carefully with a very sharp knife, cut your biscotti into pieces and just put them back in the pan. Cut side up. You can see how easy they're coming apart. They probably look a little overdone on the edges, but that's okay. I'm going to put that piece back so I can see how wide I'm cutting them. I want them to be all about the same width. Again, not measuring, I'm just eyeballing because that is what I do. But I can get pretty close. That one was a hair thicker. Ah! You'll be able to see it on the pan because it sticks up just a little bit higher than the other ones. These are going to go back in the oven and bake twice. Once with one side turned up, then we'll flip them over and bake them on the other side, and it's going to take about 6 to 10 minutes or until they turn that nice, really golden brown color. These should all fit back on your pan pretty nicely. I actually like these end pieces. Once they cook, they get really crunchy. I can do that. And they're just delicious. I can actually see the cranberries and nuts in there. They look really nice. I'll show you a piece. Look. See all the cranberries and nuts in there? These also would be really good around Christmas time if you want something different with cranberries in it and not just your traditional Christmas stuff. Now my chocolate biscotti I made longer, even though they were about the same thickness. It was about twice as long as these. And they had this weird tendency to break in half, like right down the middle. They just cracked and broke open. So, chocolate is not something to just mess with. You really have to have your timing down because it's really impossible nearly to tell when they're done because they don't turn this beautiful toasty brown color that these are. And again, I'm not measuring. I'd have some that are a wee bit bigger than others and some that are a wee bit smaller. It's fine. Nothing, like the world isn't going to explode. I'm not rebaking those. They're way too tiny. But I'm going to eat them while these are baking. Okay. So if you can see in the pan, nice biscotti. They're almost all even. I have one or two in there that are a little thicker than the others, but that's okay. So I'm popping them back in the oven for 6 to 10 minutes. I will probably set a timer for 8 minutes because that's a nice in between. Then you have to flip them over and do it again. So I'll be back. Hey you guys, I'm back. And these biscotti have baked on the first side for 8 minutes. You can see they're nice and toasty brown. Really pretty. Now I'm going to flip them over, put them back in the oven, and cook them for another 8 minutes. Then we'll move them out to cool, and we'll glaze them later. So excited! These look so yummy. Guess what? Through the magic of video, these are now done. So I'm just going to pull this over here so I'm not putting this thing right on my counter. And we are going to take these biscotti out of the pan and put them over here on the rack. Now you may say, wow Joe, that looks burnt, but trust me, it's not. They get a little dark on the bottom. That's okay. But you can see the lovely golden brown color that they are on both sides. That is what we're looking for. As you're putting them on the rack, make sure to leave a little space between them and stand them up. It's going to be very important for later when we glaze them. I'm just being all abusive to mine and tossing them kind of everywhere here. But okay, I will get the rest of these out of the pan. You guys get the rest out of your pan, and then we'll reconvene. Okay, that's the last one. They're all out of the pan. We're going to let them sit here until they are completely cool, and then we're going to glaze them. So I'll be back with you guys for the glazing. You can eat, you know, the end pieces or whatever. I'm probably going to put mine over the fan there on my stove to speed up the cooling process, but they should be nice and dry and crispy whenever they're done. Yay! I know you're excited to dig in, so am I, so let's get this party started. Hey guys, guess what? I'm back. Biscotti are cooled completely. You can totally touch them, they feel cold. And I have put them on a giant piece of aluminum foil because, well, if you know anything about me, you know I don't like to clean. So, I'm back with my almond extract, about 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. I'm gonna just put a few drops of that almond extract in there, not a lot. You can even pour it into something else and then add it into here, but we're just going to pour in just a little milk. No, I don't know how much milk that was. No, I'm not measuring it. What we want is a lightly runny glaze that we'll be able to scoop into our plastic Ziploc bag and drizzle over our lovely, delicious biscotti. Want it to be kind of thin, so keep adding that milk and just mix it till you get the consistency of a nice thin, runny, but viscous kind of liquid. Now all your sugar will dissolve, so if you're just patient, you don't have to actually get in there and break up each chunk by yourself. Yes, chonka-monka. I'm just using a fork. Kind of stir it around a little bit. Okay, so the consistency that I'm looking for is runny. And it's just about right, so because we don't want it to be super sticky and glob up on our biscotti. Now before I load my bag, I want to make sure these are well and good apart so that glaze has a chance to kind of drip down the sides a little bit. I don't want my biscotti touching on the sides. The ends are fine. And then you're just going to glaze until like you think it's okay. Who am I to tell you how much sugar to put in your body? Okay, so I'm going to take the fork out of the sugar. Pour it into a quart-sized Ziploc bag. That trusty, rusty bowl scraper I showed you guys earlier, the little one. And I'm just going to scrape the glaze out of the bowl. Probably not going to need it all, but what the hell. And put my fork in there with that. Now, I like to kind of squeeze the air out. Seal the top of the bag. There's not a lot of room in there for me to lose glaze. Nip the tip. Just a tiny, tiny corner. You don't need a lot of ability because this just is gonna like pour out of here. So hold it back, then hold it up, start your drizzle on the side, and just go over your biscotti like so. You can go in any pattern that you want. It's okay if there's a blob here or there. No one is judging you but you. So do you. I do like to use the entire bag because I like my biscotti just a little bit sweet. You only figured that out about me. I have a sweet tooth. Yes, I do. Just squeeze it on there, and then you can go crazy with your glaze. Whoa. And just let it go nuts. There are no rules to glazing your biscotti. It's your stinking biscotti. You're the ones going to eat it. Now, I don't like it if it covers the entire top. I like it kind of swirly whirly. And you can glaze these on the side if you prefer. Just kind of going back and seeing some of those places that I missed. I like a little bit of glaze in every bite. Again, it's my sweet tooth talking. This is not a super thick glaze. You can leave it a little thicker and it's going to kind of pile up on top of your biscotti, which is perfectly fine. Again, your call. Just don't add as much milk. But man, does that ever look fantastic. All right, there's my baggie done and right into the trash. So there are our biscotti. Yum. I'm about to eat one of these so y'all can hear it crunch. We will get all fun. Can you see them? Ah! They fell off. Oh well. That's okay. I'll just put them back on. Didn't affect the taste at all. I want this one right here. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this crunch, but I sure hope you can. These are totally dried out. They should crunch nicely, and if you dip them in coffee, they should get soft really quickly. So here we go. Mmm. 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 God, that is so good. The almond flavor is very subtle, but it really brings those cashews up. Once these are dry, once your glaze is dry, you can store these for a really long time in an airtight container or in a bread bag. Don't worry, you'll get crumbs in the bottom, but it's good. Those cranberries in there give you that nice tartness. If only you knew how much this made me want a cup of coffee right now. I really can't. I've already had 2 today. So, Cranberry Cashew Biscotti. If you're new around here, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. There are new videos weekly. We go from pastries and breads to recipes I find on the web, and we'll see how they taste and how long they really take, to recipes submitted by my friends, to recipes by me. So we have a pretty good, I have a pretty good range of stuff. And you may get a bonus recipe now and then if something cool comes out. I just heard about something, so we'll see. You'll probably see this video after that one. All right, you guys have a great day. See you next time.